Hey peeps, it's your favorite manifesting cousin, Neira, and welcome to the Manifest with Me podcast, where we will be discussing mindset, manifestation, and money with a little ratchet behavior mixed in from time to time. If you haven't already, please make sure to follow me on social media on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at Neira_X. You can also follow my YouTube at Neira the G.O.A.T and visit the website neirathegoat.com. If you're interested in learning more about how to manifest more, shift your paradigms, and overcome limiting beliefs, download my new ebook, Just Ask the GOAT, Your Ratchet Guide to Understanding the Mind and Manifestation. The link is in the show notes. I'm so happy and grateful that you've taken a moment to listen to this podcast, and I hope that this week's episode is super helpful and insightful. Make sure to leave me a 5-star review or comment on this episode and shout me out on social media. So without further ado, let's hop right into this week's episode. Hey peeps, it's your favorite manifesting cousin, Neira, and I am here with this week's podcast episode. So look, a couple of months back, a friend of mine asked me in so many words, what do I do when I am struggling in my current circumstance, right? And I know that he's not the only person that's ever felt this way or been in this particular situation. I know that I have struggled seeing my current reality not match up to what I know that it has the potential to be. And I feel like this episode is going to correlate with last week's episode about meditation and just kind of trying your best to get a little bit more in tune with the source. So he texted me and said that in general, he just feels like he doesn't seem to get any breaks in life. It seems like people that are in the same industry as him are a little bit further than he is. He feels like he's taken all of the right steps to put himself in position to have a different outcome, but it just kind of seems like he keeps getting the short end of the stick. And I know what that feels like. But he also went on to say he had to be honest and say that there are areas that he could be trying to be better and to not get so complacent and to step out on faith a little bit more and not blame others or other situations, but to hold himself accountable for the things that are not happening for him. And I just want to first commend him for being able to recognize that, because a lot of the times it's really easy to take on a victim mentality in life that, the system isn't set up for me, or the man this, the man that, or I grew up in a single parent home, or I grew up in a toxic environment, or whatever the case may be. Everybody has their own story, everybody has their own challenges. But at some point, we have got to divorce those narratives if we are trying to see ourselves as our highest self, accomplish things that our highest self would accomplish. When you think about that version of you that does exist, because it already exists, but when you think about that version of you, you cannot hold on to all of those narratives that once were, because they're now in the past, right? So, and this is, listen, hear me closely when I say this is not to take away from the effects of trauma, the effects of abuse, or any of those things. At some point, you have got to take full accountability and responsibility for you and the life that you have and the decisions that you have or have not made. So, how do you get there, right? Like, how do you hold yourself accountable? How do you take the right actions or take the necessary actions? Because I don't really like using the term right or wrong, but how do you take the necessary actions? And I'll start off by saying this: many times the things that we want never come to us in the way that we think they should come, whether it's love, relationships, careers, additional income, whatever. I've been learning and continue to learn that just because we don't see something, that does not mean that it's not coming. And a lot of times when things are on the way to you, again, they never look like what you expect for them to be. A lot of times, in order for what you're looking to happen, whatever you're looking to manifest, there are lots of things that have to be rearranged. Sometimes that looks like a relationship ending. Sometimes that may look like I have to move from this city to that city. Sometimes it may look like an eviction. Sometimes it may look like death in the family. A lot of times, the things that have to be rearranged in our lives in order for manifestations to come into fruition, it looks like tragedy. It looks like miscommunications. It looks like things that don't feel good. But it's through these events that have to take place, these shifts that have to happen, that we change our perspective on how we look at them. It's really easy, like I said, to get caught up in your current circumstance and to play victim and to ask the questions, God, why is this happening to me? Or why does it have to hurt so bad? Or why is it taking so long? But you said that you wanted $1 million a year. You said that you wanted $30,000 months in your life. You said that you wanted supernatural peace. You said that you wanted supernatural joy. You said that you wanted a love that is going to last you a lifetime. Somebody that completely adores you and loves you in your love language the same way that you love them in their love language. Well, sometimes in order for those things to happen, life has to get shifted and rearranged. But in those times, I want to encourage you to continue to meditate, to continue to take your time out and spend intentional time with yourself and intentional time with Source so that you may be filled up in those moments where you feel like you're being depleted, so that you may feel encouraged in those moments where you feel discouraged. In my experience and what I have learned for me by taking intentional time out, like in the morning, I take time out to meditate as soon as I wake up. I take time out to have a devotion. So for me, that looks like reading my little morning devotion. I go and find corresponding scriptures. Um, and that looks like me taking time out to journal. That is my intentional time that I spend. And I normally spend the first couple of hours of the morning without listening to anything. I try not to get on social media. I don't really even listen to music. Sometimes I might listen to praise and worship music if I'm in the mood for it. But I try to really just have a quiet morning. I call it easing myself into the day, easing myself into the day, because I know that if you're listening to me or if you listen to podcasts like this, other speakers that talk about spirituality and things of that nature, the morning, from the time that you fall asleep to the time that you wake up, it's really a sacred period. And it's a lot of times during those times that you are being downloaded with the answers to a lot of your questions, with direction into which way that you need to go. So sometimes it looks like being still and being quiet. I have also started incorporating, like, if there is something that I need direction on or something that I need help with, I literally ask the question out loud right before I fall asleep. And then somewhere in the night, I have a dream. Or by the time I wake up and I'm like coming out of my sleep, I'll get like a vision of something. Or when I'm brushing my teeth, it's during that quiet time that a lot of times my answers are given to me on the direction that I need to take. So a couple of weeks ago, I did this guided meditation. And, I meditate a lot. So I can fall into a meditative state pretty quickly. Um, and when I've done guided meditations like this previously, if questions are asked, they're normally revealed to me in like a memory from the past or a vision or a number or a word or an image. I get those kind of intuitive hits to kind of get my answers, and then I'm able to kind of figure things out from there. Um, but this particular guided meditation, nothing was coming to me. Like nothing. I'm just there, like, with an open heart, or at least I thought with an open heart and an open mind, ready to receive a answer. And nothing was coming to me. So before the meditation was over, the woman who was instructing it, she said, um, "It's okay if you don't have an answer. Just continue to be open and nimble and open and ready to receive it sometime throughout the day." So I went on about my day. I think I did it at probably like 2 o'clock in the afternoon or something like that. Went on about my day, had movie night with the kids like I normally do on Friday nights. And then before I went to sleep, I'm just in my bed talking to God. And I'm like, yo, I was trying to figure out what these money blocks are because I'm trying to get this paper. And I need you to just give me my answer. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's taking so long? So, I just kind of laughed it off. And then I ended up waking up at 2 o'clock Saturday morning. And everything that I think that I was looking for was given to me in this particular dream. And I've still been decoding it ever since I've had it. And back to my friend who sent me this text message about being more accountable and wanting to know why certain things weren't panning out in the way that he desired them to pan out. I'd like to say it's important to take time out with source. And that's going to look different for everybody. But these are the types of questions that you need to be asking the creator. These are the types of questions that you need to be asking the source. And in order for you to get these answers, it looks like meditating. It looks like maybe asking the question before falling asleep and then getting this crazy dream or this crazy instruction on what it is you need to do. It looks like maybe sometimes turning the radio off or turning your music off on the way home or turning your music off while you're at work. Being intentional about the quiet time that you spend with source allows you to open yourself up and to put yourself in receptive mode so that you can be able to receive. See, when we're constantly filling ourselves up with social media, conversations with other people, busy tasks that we're doing, anything, all of those things are distractions. Not saying that they're not bad things or that we shouldn't be using them or we shouldn't be engaging with them. But when you allow all of those things to take up the time that you could be using to intentionally spend with yourself and intentionally spend with God, then the very same questions that you're looking to get answered will never get answered, because the way God and Source speaks to us is never loud. It's never loud. It's in those moments in between sleep and waking up. It's in those times where nothing is really going on, or you're just like washing dishes and not really thinking about anything, that you are in receptive mode to be able to receive the answers to the questions that you're looking for. And then the other side of it is, if you're not receiving the results that you're looking for, if the manifestation seems like it's taking too long, or you've done all of the things and you still, like, you need supernatural guidance to kind of help you. So then you have to really be honest with yourself and say, am I giving spirit, source energy, God, the time that I need to give it to show me? Or has God been showing me things and I've been ignoring the divinely inspired actions that I know that I need to be taking? Sometimes it's a mixture of both of those, right? Sometimes we're not intentionally spending enough time, and then sometimes we're being shown things, but because we're afraid to really understand what those things mean, or we're afraid to dive a little deeper into the dream, or afraid to follow the inkling that we have to do X, Y, and Z, that we still aren't receiving the results that we're looking for. How I figured I could begin to strengthen my relationship with God and strengthen my intuition is to set a timer for 10 minutes a day. That's how I started meditating, and I mentioned it in last week's episode. I got into meditation really during the pandemic. Um, it was a stressful time for everybody during the pandemic. Well, right before the pandemic, November of 2019, my grandmother passed away. February of 2020, my ex husband moved out. And literally 2 weeks later, the pandemic came, and I was a newly single mother of two, trapped in a house with two little children with very big emotions. There was stress there because I also didn't know how my job was even going to be affected by any of this. And I was like, I need to figure out how I can navigate through this. And I need help. I need help that is not going to come from a person. I need some supernatural help to kind of get me and navigate me through the changes of life that were happening. You probably have gotten to a point where it's been so many things happening at once that you feel like you really need the additional support of something outside of you, inside of you, yeah, outside of you, something bigger than you to kind of help you navigate through these things. So here's what I did. During the pandemic, I decided to start setting a timer for 10 minutes a day. 10 minutes a day, and I'm just going to focus on breathing. I would listen to guided meditations, but I wanted to be able to hear clearly, like, what is it that I need to do? And let me tell you something. Even in saying that now and thinking back on it, we had this idea that, like, oh, I'm gonna meditate and God is gonna give me the master plan, all of the instruction at the same time. Child, when we think about the magnitude of what source actually is in comparison to our little human understanding, it don't happen that way. I just want to be honest with you. It doesn't happen that way. You're gonna get a piece of the plan. You gonna get what source thinks that you have the capacity to receive, right? And then after you follow that little tidbit, it'll be revealed to you more and more over time. But I started off just 10 minutes a day of just breathing and trying to refocus. It's like Lori said in last week's episode, meditation, especially when you're first starting out, is you just trying to refocus those thoughts that seem to pop back up and refocus it back on the breathing, or refocus it back on the point of reference that you might have while meditating. And answers don't necessarily always come in the meditation, right? Like I mentioned with the guided meditation that I did a couple of weeks ago, your answers don't necessarily always come in the meditation, but sometimes the moments after. And that might be when you're brushing your teeth, or when you're washing your dishes, or when you're in a dream state, or when you're just driving in your car. And it's important, again, to take the time out whenever you have those moments alone to make them quiet moments, like the times when you're in the shower, when you're driving. Make those your quiet moments, make those your intimate times. I'm learning that as the answers get revealed to me post meditation, post quiet time, or during the quiet time, as the answers begin to get revealed to me on the actions that I need to take, the importance of taking the action right then and there. We prolong a lot of our manifestations. We prolong a lot of our dreams and our goals because we don't take action right when the inspiration hits. It's a reason why the inspiration hits when it does, because it's at that moment that you have to take the action. We've been waiting on what's the next thing to do, and then we get the intuitive hit on what it is that we need to do, and we still don't take the action. So I want to encourage you not to be surprised whenever your answer comes. Don't be surprised, or don't think like that can't be it. You know it is. You know that it is what it is. And sometimes we still get afraid to take the action. But don't be the person, don't stand in your own way. Is all I'm trying to say. Take the action even when it doesn't make any sense. Y'all, I'm going to tell y'all, me moving to Georgia, first of all, I never wanted to move to Georgia. Let me start off by saying that. Out of all the places in the world that I could live, Georgia was never on my list of places that I wanted to live. So me moving here was already one of those things where I was like, I don't understand why you're leading me here. And then once I got here and I stopped working at my previous job, I really was like, yo, what's going on? I don't understand why I'm here. But I understand, and I'm growing to understand now, that those actions had to be taken in order for even this podcast to come into fruition, right? I have all these ideas and dreams and things that I want to do for myself. And I guess for me, you could look at it as, okay, Neira, you've put out all of these desires into the earth of things that you want to do. But how can these things be accomplished if you are still giving most of your time and attention to somebody else's business? God also knew that I'm not the type of person that's just going to quit. Like, I'll quit a job, don't get me wrong. Because I've had about 50 of them. You know, I tell y'all all the time. I'll quit a job if I feel like there's nothing else for me to do. But in the situation with my previous job, I didn't necessarily feel like that was a place that I needed to just leave. But sometimes, Helen, but sometimes we'll be put in situations where we don't realize that everything that we needed to be done while we were there has been accomplished. And because maybe we still have issues that we're trying to work through within ourselves, we can sometimes overstay our welcome. We can sometimes stay in places, relationships, situations, whatever, longer than we need to because there are parts of us that still need to be healed. And if I'm going to be completely honest and transparent, I've struggled with wanting to be accepted. I've struggled with wanting to feel like I had a purpose. I've struggled with attaching myself to titles, whether that be me being a mom or me being a friend or me being this excellent director of X, Y, and Z or whatever, because I've had to discover my self worth for me. That was something that I had to learn how to do. I had to learn that my value transcends the titles that I hold. It transcends the things that I'm responsible for. That was something that I still needed to learn. And that lesson was not going to be taught or revealed to me unless I am no longer a part of certain things. So, in retrospect, when I think back on it, whoo, Holy Spirit, way to take us full circle. In retrospect, when I think back on all of it, right? The desires that I've put out into the earth and the vision that I see for my life, all of these things had to happen. My grandmother had to pass when she passed. My ex-husband had to move out when he moved out. The pandemic had to happen when it happened. All of the other mishaps from 2020 up until now, the Hurricane Ida, relationships that ended, a career that ended, all of those things had to happen for me to first be able to see and understand my value and to prepare me and shape me into the person that would be ready to receive all of the desires that I had put out into the earth. So, to answer my friend's question that he proposed and the struggle that he was dealing with, like how do you get past dealing with your current situation, you're struggling with your current circumstances on your way to the manifestation, is really understanding and grasping that there are so many things that have been engraved in you up until this point that as the next level no longer serve you. There are so many narratives that we have attached ourselves to, so many identities that we've attached ourselves to because we feel like they keep us safe, or this is how it's always been, or these are the things that I do and what I'm responsible for, and we mistake ourselves into believing that that is who and all we are, when in all actuality we transcend all of those things. And for me, it was a lesson in understanding myself and getting to understand and know myself and know my value through spending intentional time with source for that to be revealed to me. And it's revealed to us through that quiet time. It's revealed to us during the devotion, during the meditation, during the fasting, during the changing of our diet, during the taking our health seriously, mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, doing the work. See, I think what I was missing is that, and maybe you can attest to this too, is that we have the dream, the idea, the goal set in our head of what it is that we want to do. And in all actuality, it's never about completing the dream, it's never about fulfilling the vision, but it's about all of the changes and the learning and the shedding of the old self to create the new self. It's the journey that matters the most. So I'm not saying that your current situation does not hurt. I'm not saying that your current situation is not uncomfortable. But what I am saying is that in order to manifest the life that you are trying to manifest, it's all necessary. And like my best friend Joe says, God wastes nothing. God wastes nothing. Everything has a divine purpose. So I hope that this podcast encourages you. Child, it was more than I was expecting. Like, I have notes that I had, but Spirit took us in whatever direction that we needed to be taken into for that. It'll be interesting when I edit this thing and put it all together. But yeah, I hope that this encourages you. Understand that nothing that you are going through is by accident. Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you have any questions or any topics that you'd like me to discuss, please don't hesitate to leave a comment or send me a DM on Instagram. Peace, love, and light to you. Always remember what you are seeking is seeking you too. Happy manifesting.